How's it going? I'm Anthony, and these are stories of my life. For those of you just joining us for the first time, these videos are a cognitive therapy tool for me. I've taken some head injuries over the years, my memory's been failing me, and the doctors have suggested I make these videos to preserve the memories I still have, as well as inspire some of you all who are involved in these events to provide me with details I may have lost or otherwise remind me of events I've completely forgotten, in which case then I can either remake an old video with the new details or make a whole new video for you and go from there. So I'm sure you get the idea. At any rate, building off of the last video, the events of this one do take place in the beginning of 1993. I would have been 15 years old, having just turned 15 on January 3rd. And though I technically would have been in my second semester of my sophomore year at Riverside Polytechnic High School in Riverside, California, my dumbass was living on the street, homeless person, and had completely abandoned school altogether. So yeah, if you're not sure how I ended up at this point, then go back and please watch the last couple of videos and you'll see how that came to be. At any rate, so here I am, homeless guy, sleeping on rooftops or fields or golf courses or wherever else I can figure out to put my head. I was mainly hanging out around the Canyon Crest Town Center. And the reason I was doing that is just because it had all the resources that I really needed. It had places for me to sleep. It had grocery stores and fast food and a pizza place so I can get leftover pizza for people and whatever else. And so it worked out. More than that, though, I had friends in the area. And, Jason Evans and just a variety of other people, a lot of which I can't remember at this point. I can't remember their names, but these were some big, freaking scary dudes that were questionable and doing some big, scary, questionable shit. So, yeah, and I was the smallest and youngest of the group. I was kind of the sidekick to Jason, but I was very much an accepted and active member of the group. And the only way I can think of to describe them, I mentioned in the last video, is these guys were essentially like gangsters, really. Not gangbangers, completely different, but scary dudes. But anyway, so spent a lot of time with them, did a lot of questionable, stupid things. I'm not going to get into that. What this video is about is a guy by the name of Roy. And Roy was a security guard at the Canyon Crest Town Center. Some of you will remember him. He was missing a thumb on his right hand. And Roy, if I remember right, was a Marine who had served as a sniper in Vietnam. And he and I used to have a lot of conversations about that. Now, granted, he didn't talk about it with anybody else, but I was able to pry this information out of him, largely because I had an interest in going into the Marines at the time, and had later gone into the Marines. And after I'd come back and talked to him, he had given me some more details and whatever else. But at any rate, at this time, I knew him well enough because I had been going up to the Canyon Crest Town Center so much since I was a freshman, maybe even a little before I was a freshman. And initially, he was always the guy trying to bust me and my friends for doing stupid crap up there. And but over time, I got to know him and got to know his background and what was going on. And I remember I'd even asked him about his thumb, and he had said that he had taken a skill saw to it or a circular saw to it or something to that effect. I don't remember that I ever asked him why, but somebody later told me, I think it was another security guard that worked there, later told me that he had cut it off himself deliberately because he didn't ever want to kill anybody ever again. And if he didn't have his thumb, he couldn't hold a gun. Vietnam scout sniper who, yeah, I get it. Absolutely get it. So anyway, at this point, Roy had probably realized that I was in dire straits, that I was homeless and not eating very well and whatever else. And there was times I would see Roy at the town center, and even though he could have just as easily driven his little security golf cart over to Carl's Jr. or wherever to get food, he might hand me $20 and say, hey, can you go, get this and this and this from Carl's Jr. and get yourself something there, keep the change. Kind of like a you fly, I buy situation. And he could have just as easily done it. But yeah, I think he was doing it for me. He might get food from somewhere and just happen to get extra and offer it to me, and things like that. And I think there was even a few times he did give me money so I can go do something or whatever. But I was up there a lot, and he also, I think, realized that I was helping make his life a little easier, because the friends I did have up there and I were looking out for that area. If there was anybody that was trying to do bad things, we would run them off and even tell them about it. And so I think we kind of had like a good, we'll call it a working relationship, is probably the best way to put it. But anyway, so one day Roy and I had a conversation, and Roy told me a story. And this story is what this video is all about. And the story that he told me kind of set the standard for how I wanted to conduct myself in an emotionally compromising situation. Like that was it. This was the standard. And this is the story. This is how it goes. So after Roy had gotten done with his service, whatever, he was living with his wife. And I don't remember where or what, but they were living in what was like a kind of a 2-story-ish apartment maybe. And he had a job working, I guess it was security, where he had to be at work early in the morning. And one morning he was leaving the house and he got all dressed and got in the car and drove. And he said there was probably like a 20, maybe 30-minute drive to get from his house to work. And so he drives to work and he gets there, and his boss tells him, oh, you know what, we might be double covered today, or whatever it might have been. But either way, they didn't need Roy. They could have used him, but they said, it's up to you. If you want to stay, you can get some hours in, great. Otherwise, if you want to go home, that's okay too. And Roy thought about it and he said, you know what, I'm going to go home, because I'm working a lot. I don't get a lot of time with my wife, so I want to go home and spend some time with her. And so, okay, no problem. So he jumps in the car and he drives back home, another 20, 30 minutes-ish. And he said that when he got back to the apartment, he opened the door and he walked in. He said, as soon as you walk in the door, you've kind of got the kitchen area there on the right, and like a dining area on the left. And back to the left was the stairs that went up to the second level. He said he walks in and shuts the door behind him. And as he walks into the kitchen, he can now hear the sounds of his wife upstairs fucking banging some other dude. And I can only imagine what was going through his mind when he hears this, I mean, guy with his background, whatever else. So he said that he just was confused. Like, he was just like, what the hell? And he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that this was going on. So he had to verify. So he put his stuff back down and snuck up the stairs. And he said he gets up to the bedroom and the door is kind of cracked open. And it's loud as day. They said there's no way you could have not known what was going on. But he still had to say. So he kind of cracked open the door a little bit more and kind of peeked in. And sure enough, the wife and this dude were going at it. I don't remember him saying if he knew who the guy was. I think it was just some rando. But anyway, at that moment, he said that he just was so infuriated that every ounce of being he had in him, he wanted to burst through that door and basically rip them both apart. Understandable, right? Especially a guy with that background, you can see where his mind would go from there. But that's not what he did. He said that somehow he was able to get control over that. And let logic take over. And he said that he closed the door back to where it was and then snuck back downstairs. And he said he thought about it for a few minutes on what he should do, what would be the best way to handle it. And then what he did was he went into the dining room and set the table. Well, the dining room was essentially right there, but he set the table for 3. So he set a table for 3. And then went into the kitchen and went to the fridge, pulled out the bacon and eggs, and then started making breakfast. Oh, man. So he said he picked the bacon because frying bacon, after a few minutes, what happens? The smell of that shit just consumes the house, right? And he said that that's exactly what he wanted. So he starts frying up some bacon. He's got the eggs ready and available to start cooking, but bacon takes a little bit of time. So he starts cooking this bacon, and all the ruckus is still going on upstairs. He said after about 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, all of a sudden it just stops. And the only thing you could hear now was the sizzling bacon. That was it. Just completely stopped. And so he sat there just still messing with the bacon, and he said that he could hear the wife now come out of the bedroom, open the door, walk out, and start to walk down the stairs. And the wife says, "Roy, honey?" And he kind of glanced over his shoulder to see her with a robe on. And he says, "Yeah, baby." So, what are you doing home? He says, "Oh, they didn't need me at work, and asked me if I wanted to stay or go home, and I figured I wanted to come back, spend some time with you, so here I am." She goes, "Okay, what are you doing?" He says, "Just making breakfast." Okay. And he said that she was just completely confused, and then she happened to glance at the dining table and saw that it was set for 3 people, which I imagine probably just screwed with her head even more, right? And so he glanced at her again and saw that she just was completely lost, like just had this looking all around, just not understanding. And then finally she just starts to turn back upstairs and just says, I'm gonna go upstairs and get changed. And he says, "Okay." So she hesitated and then slowly started to make her way back up the stairs, kept looking back over her shoulder at Roy, and he just kept cooking and started putting together the eggs. And as she was crossing the plane of the stairs to upstairs, he said, "Hey, baby." And she looks back, she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "How does your friend want his eggs?" Oh, he said she just turned ghost fucking white. Just ghost white. Oh man, just all the color flushed from her face, and she just mouth dropped open, looked like she wanted to vomit. Just, oh man. And she just froze, and he just kept staring at her like, well, and she didn't say anything. And it was like her brain just popped. And he said she didn't respond. She just turned back up the stairs and just went upstairs and disappeared. Look, all right, over easy it is. And so he just went right back to the eggs and started cooking the eggs. And once the eggs got done, and like I said, a little bit of time has passed. Once the eggs got done, he started setting the table, putting out the plates with food on it. She came back down the stairs, now robe just totally flowing open, angry as hell, with his .25 caliber handgun, and shot him 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. Just no shit. Shot him 3 times. He took the hits and went down, obviously, because he had gotten shot. but then was kind of confused, like, all right, you just shot me. Like, why did you shoot me? And she flipped out on him, screaming and yelling about why he didn't get mad. Why he didn't get mad. So, obviously, the cops were called, the ambulance shows up, and Roy was fine. And, but she got arrested. I don't think it was for attempted murder. I think it was just assault with a deadly weapon. But anyway, she got arrested. And she told the cops the same thing. Like, why did you shoot him? Well, because he didn't get mad. So, on record, because they had to interview the dude that was there too. So, on record, they've got that she was, in fact, having an affair with another man. They know who the man is. He was there. He admitted to it too. She just assaulted Roy with a deadly weapon because he didn't overreact emotionally to her transgressions. And shot him, almost killed him. And so the divorce proceedings went freaking smooth. She lost everything. Roy got everything. Like, it was just the smoothest divorce in the world, he said. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap. And then that's when he said to me, that there was another way that this could have went down. I could have, let my emotions get the better of me and handled it this way, in which case the reverse would have been the result. And, he would have lost everything and ended up in prison for who knows how long and whatever else. But it just, that whole story, the way he handled it, the way she reacted emotionally, because she then went emotional, just blew my mind. And that, like I said, set the stage and set the tone for how I wanted to, I don't want to say live my life, but at least if I was exposed to an emotionally compromising situation, that's how I want to be able to handle myself. And I've remembered that story from that day forward, and it has literally set the standard for me. So it was important to me, always has been, and that's why I wanted to share it with you all. Maybe you can get something out of it. But at any rate, yeah. Oh, how does your friend want his eggs? At any rate, thank you for watching. If you've got any comments or similar stories to share or details I may have missed, if you knew about the story, then by all means, let me know. I would love to hear it. Have a good one.